Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Welcome to Consider Islam. Live with Kenny Bomer, an affiliate and founder of the Consider This TV network. Any views, actions, or comments made by panelists during this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of CTTV network hosts or affiliates. This channel and its affiliates do not claim any right over any of the graphics, images, or songs used in this video that are protected under copyright by other individuals or organizations. All rights are reserved to the respective copyright owners. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. The works on this channel are protected under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, of 1998, which amended the existing U.S. copyright law to address important parts of the relationship between copyright and the Internet. Now here is your host, Kenny Bomer.
Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone who's watching. My name is Kenny Bomer. This is Consider Islam Live with Kenny Bomer. And I do want to say that I bear witness there's no God other than Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his final servant and the seal of all prophets. Alhamdulillah. So, there's been a lot going on here in Texas, in Uvalde, Texas. People have probably heard of it, heard what happened at the elementary school in Uvalde. A large number of children were killed, and 2 teachers were killed, and police officer wounded. I think 2 police officers wounded, and the suspect's grandmother was also shot before he went to the school. And of course, the killer was actually killed himself by police officers. But it's disturbing because here we are, again, talking about mass shootings, gun violence. As a matter of fact, I seen yesterday on the news that they said there's been, since the Sandy Hook incident, which was the greatest mass shooting in the history of the U.S., the event yesterday was the second, as far as schools are concerned anyways. But there's been 900, since Sandy Hook, there's been 900 school shootings since then, and that was in 2012. Man, that's disgusting. And so there's a lot of hurting people out there today, a lot of parents who've lost their children, people who've lost loved ones, and we should all certainly be concerned about this, and certainly pray for these individuals and ask Allah to make ease for them and their hurt and their pain. And to help us find a way to do better. The United States is the only country that I've heard of that has this problem. I know in the UK, they don't have access to weapons, firearms, so they have stabbings and so forth, but it's much harder to kill someone with a knife than it is to kill someone with a bullet. I mentioned that on social media earlier today, and of course the gun advocates, they want to kick back and use the old same phrase that it's not guns that kill people, it's people that kill people. But listen, one guy brought up knives. Should we ban all knives as well, and so forth? But listen, it's hard enough for a ninja to kill 18, 19, 20 people with a blade, much less some 18-year-old kid who has no training in how to use, handheld weaponry, but anyone could pull a trigger and kill quite easily. So where's the big problem at? The big problem is access to all the weapons that people have. But all the Second Amendment people, trying to uh, maintain their right to bear arms, I understand it to a point, but it's a bit ridiculous when an 18-year-old boy can turn 18 and immediately go and purchase some firearms. And, what for? Why does he need them? Was he the head of a household? No. Is he going hunting? Trying to survive, hunting for food? Absolutely not. So, what is the purpose of someone that young being able to go and purchase a firearm? I believe that people shouldn't be able to purchase firearms until they're at least in their 40s, where you can kind of see where their life has gone and what type of person they are, and makes background checks far more effective. Even this young man, I don't even want to call him a young man. He's nevertheless at 18 years old, unless he'd been in trouble with the law quite a bit or whatever, there's not much to go on other than go and look at his social media, which he was posting pictures of his firearms and his guns and so forth, but that's not against the law, and that's not necessarily a sign that someone has the intention of going to commit some type of a mass shooting, because sometimes people buy something and they're just trying to show it off for whatever reason, and they take photos of it with no intention for anything other than that. And so let's say that someone called and reported this guy to the police that he was taking pictures of firearms, taking pictures of his guns and so forth. What are the police going to do about that? They can't do anything about that. That's not, no crime has been committed when that happens. So, what are people left to do? I think they need to raise the age to 45, raise the age and limit the number of people who can just openly, go easily buy a firearm. At least limit it to someone that's up in age a little bit. That way you can kind of gauge who this person is when they come in to make a purchase. At least you have some type of longevity, some type of history on who this person is, and something to go on. Because it appears that most of these mass shootings have occurred by young people in their early teens or their 20s and so forth. So this is a major problem. So we should be sure to pray to Allah and ask Allah to help ease the pain and the burden of these people and help us to find a solution. Obviously, we already have the solution. The solution is Islam. We live in a country where people can't pray in church. Pray in school. They can't pray in school, but they can be taught that a male can be a female and a female can be a male, just based on someone's feelings and thoughts. Someone could just choose to be the opposite sex, but we can't pray. Children can't pray in school. Well, there's a pretty big problem. There's a pretty big problem there. Teaching children everything except anything about our God, our Creator. My goodness. Listen, the solution is right there in our faces, and the solution is recognizing our God, our Creator, and if you're going to teach evolution in school, why not teach religion in school as well? Make it an elective or something. You got to do something better. But the solution to it all is Islam. What does it say in the Quran? To kill one person is as if you've killed all of mankind. And to save one person is as if you've saved all of mankind. And that comes in, that doesn't have to be physically saving someone. It could be mentally and emotionally saving someone. You could be saving someone by just simply being kind to them that day, any given day. We never know what someone's thinking or what they're feeling or what they're going through, what mental illness they might have, if they're in a state of depression. Sometimes people are depressed, they're severely depressed, but they still have a smile on their face because they're trying to cover it up. But inside, they're dying inside. They feel lonely and they feel like no one understands how they feel. And they're carrying these burdens around, they're in distress, mental and emotional distress. And then they're bullied or, made fun of or oppressed or picked on in some form or fashion. And they react. But guess what? Every person that we encounter, we're being tested by, literally. It doesn't matter if it's a stranger on the street that we pass by. We can, we have the opportunity to share a smile or walk by them like they don't exist. Why not smile at them? The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that a smile is a form of charity. So give charity. Be kind. Acknowledge people. And I realize that sometimes we're caught up in our own thoughts and we're on a mission to do something that we have to do, whatever the case might be. And we're just kind of have blinders on and we're just doing what we're doing. But man, that smile that we have the opportunity to share with someone could be the changing factor in what that person goes on to do, right after that. Maybe your smile or saying hello or being, acknowledging them or trying to help them in some way, maybe that might be the thing that stopped them from plummeting into whatever their, situations are guiding them towards. So we all have a responsibility. Whoever bullied that young man that did these killings, they're also responsible through vicarious liability in that, sometimes these people, they have mental illness and they feel like no one cares about them. They're bullied. They're made fun of. They feel like an outsider. And so they lash out. And all the people who made them feel like an outsider, everyone who bullied them, everyone who made fun of them, all the adults that didn't take the time and opportunity to try to guide, this young man, and just turned a blind eye to him. They're all responsible indirectly. It's a phrase that said, what's it called? I'm not sure how you would describe it, but anyway, a saying that says it takes a whole village to raise one child. Well, what does that mean? That means that each and every person who encounters that individual is either everyone is teaching them something. You're either teaching them something negative or you're teaching them something good. But we're all learning from one another. We're all being influenced by one another. And if we realize that and think about that the way we should, then we'll realize that we're being tested by everything that we encounter throughout each and every single day. Everything that we engage in is something that we're being inevitably tested by. And if we think deeper and think more consciously about who we are as individuals and what mark we're trying to leave on the world, then we're going to be more prone to acknowledge our own shortcomings and failures and acknowledging the good things that we do versus the bad things that we do. And, if we know that we're being tested, then obviously we want to pass the test. And how do you pass the test? By doing what's right. By doing what's right, but by doing what's good. And so we're all responsible for one another, inevitably. Everyone that we encounter, everyone who, like the words I'm saying right now, may Allah accept my efforts and my intentions, right? I could come on and I could do something negative and say things that are negative, or I could come on and try to encourage people to do something good with their time and with their efforts and be mindful of other people and give to charity and all those things, right? And then I benefit from it. Versus come on, insult people, backbite people, make fun of people and all those things. And then what? Who benefits from that? No one. It's ugliness. And so it's much deeper than just the person who pulls the trigger, because we're pulling triggers constantly in how we deal with people mentally, emotionally, and you're pulling the trigger when you're getting cut off in traffic and you start firing off the middle finger, shots of the middle finger and cuss words and all those things. I mean, we have the opportunity to say, you know what, maybe that person didn't mean to cut me off. It's something that happened. There was no wreck. We didn't wreck, so why am I going to get all worked up about it? Just go on about your day. So it's a pretty sad state of events. If you'd like to join the panel, feel free to do so. I'm going to post the link in the chat right now. I want to say assalamu alaikum to Brother C.L. Edwards, Abi Yazid. If you'd like to come join me, brother, that'd be fantastic. Brother Ahmed, I've seen A.K. Manning. Yeah, I miss you too, man. I miss you as well. So, assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon everyone who's in the chat. And yeah. I'm not sure how long I'll be on today, but just wanted to come on and mention this shooting in Uvalde, Texas. It's pretty sad, man. And makes me wonder what all the Second Amendment people who are all pro-gun, and they want the right to bear arms. What do they feel whenever these mass shootings happen? It's one thing if you're buying a weapon to hunt or you're buying a weapon to, protect your home. I can understand that. But an AR-15? How did this 18-year-old kid who is still a kid, how did he get access to the AR-15? How do so many of these kids get access to an AR-15? What is it made for? It's not made for hunting. It's made to slaughter people, made to kill people. So I just wonder what these gun advocates think when these mass shootings happen. Are they proud of their weapons when that happens? Everyone should have a right to defend themselves, but I've been on this planet for about 5 decades now, and as I think, have ever been in a situation where I would have needed to pull a weapon on somebody, a pistol or a gun? Yes. Yes, I have, but am I glad that I didn't have a gun to do it? Yes. And those were instances where a weapon was pulled on me. But so, yeah, I mean, there's going to be times in someone's life where you may have to defend yourself, and that's fine. But there are far too many weapons in the hands of people who are suffering from various forms of mental illness. And society as a whole is not doing anything to address mental illness. And that's not an excuse for people who do these things, but you obviously have to be somewhat crazy to just go and want to kill little children that have done you no harm, children who are getting ready to, enjoy the summer, who are, going to another grade in school and so forth, and you're going to go and kill these little children? You have to be mentally ill when that happens. Things like that happen. Yeah, there's no other option. You're crazy. Something is drastically wrong. There's a problem, and yeah. As the brother says, the disingenuous politician said that it was too soon to talk about gun safety laws after Sandy Hook. And 10 years later and countless shootings later, and these politicians are still cowards, and it's infuriating. I totally agree. I totally and absolutely agree. Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, he's politicking in the midst of all of it. Starts trying to point the finger at Democrats and so forth for accusing them of politicking while he's in the midst of politicking. Well, you're not talking anything. You have nothing else to say besides try to point fingers at the other party across the aisle. You have nothing to say about these children and these lives that have been lost, these teachers that have been killed, these law enforcement officers that have been shot. They're living, praise be to Allah. But these politicians are just, they disgust me. I don't like any of them. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I want nothing to do with politics because I don't trust not a single one of them. None of them. Of course, I don't know them on a personal level. I don't care. I don't like politics, period. Politics is poison, and yeah, they're swimming around in a cesspool of their own greed, and that's what it all amounts to. It's all about money. It's all about big business, and the NRA is certainly big business. And, it is what it is. If you'd like to come to the panel, feel free to do so. I posted the link in the chat, and I will do it again for your convenience. So there it is. I see Brother Muhammad with the Coventry Faith Foundation was in earlier. Assalamu alaikum, brother, if you're still there. I'm not sure if you're there or not. But meanwhile, I've been making great progress on my next book. And the name of that book is Your Right to Self-Identify, My Right to Disagree. The subtitle is Who is Oppressing Who? And this book is about transgenderism. And I'm very excited about this book. It's something I feel very passionate about, and it's coming along quite well. Quite well. It's coming along quickly. I've done a lot of research, and um, it's a topic I feel very passionate about, and I've just been able to get a lot written. And but every time I start thinking, okay, I'm just about done with this. There's some other point that I feel like I need to make, but it's already about 8 chapters long, and that's actually what I was going to plan it to be, 8 chapters, but um, maybe it'll go to 10 chapters. I'm not sure yet. But, so yeah. So anyway, so if you would like to be a member of the book launch team for this book, you can do so by emailing me at info@kennyboomer.com and just send me an email. You can contact me via social media if you like, but I'm going to need your email, so you might as well email me. Email me at info@kennyboomer.com and just simply say, I would like to be a member of the book launch team. And when the book is published, once it's released, you're going to get a free copy of the book. And I will list you as a member of the book launch team inside the book and so forth. So if you'd like to do that, you can email me at info@kennyboomer.com and we'll proceed from there. So I think what I'll do is what I'm going to do is bring on brother Friendly Muslims.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, brother?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm fine, brother. How are you?
I'm good, mashallah, alhamdulillah, I'm good. Sorry, let me just change my avatar to this country.
Yeah, man, I don't understand it. Even here in Houston today, a high schooler was caught with a gun on campus, and a lot of the schools are in lockdown. Man, what's this here? Got the wrong show up. Yeah, a kid today just had a weapon at school today, so it's crazy, man. It's crazy
That's
nonsense.
Very sad news, and hard to understand what is going on with these things, and how certain people at certain age have access to weapons that are so devastating,
Yeah,
and that can do so much harm. Why would you need any type of military type of weapon, and why are they so accessible?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I think that the law needs to be changed to where as soon as he turned 18, he went out and bought a couple of firearms. Why does he need them? Why do they give people access to firearms at that young of an age? He's not a head of a household. He's not hunting. So why does he need, especially AR-15? Why does he need that? He doesn't need that. So I think they should raise the limit to, in my opinion, mid 40s, where you, as I was saying earlier, where you give time to gauge this person's character and, who is this individual who's coming in to buy this weapon? Let's do a thorough background check and find out as much as possible. And what can you find out about an 18-year-old kid who's posting on Facebook, and TikTok and Instagram? Well, you can find out some stuff, but kids are going to be kids. They're doing and saying foolish things that sometimes they don't think about, like the rest of us do at times. But that's the whole point. That
The question I have is, where would they use this weapon?
Yeah,
Like, it's not a hunting weapon. I mean, I don't think you can use an AR-15 on a bear even. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's hunting and fishing laws that there's something very specific, for purpose. You can't just obviously, because I'm not familiar with what of AR-15. I think it's an automatic rifle, right? AR
I think it's
automatic.
semi-automatic, but I think they have some type of mechanism or some type of extra piece that they could put on to make it an automatic. And if I'm correct, but it's a initially it's a semi-automatic weapon to my understanding, and I don't know much about it either. But that there's a butt stock or something or whatever it's called that they put on, some type of contraption that they put on to increase the uh, the firepower from not the firepower but the number of bullets that can be uh, dispersed. So, but yeah, I mean, why do they need it? I mean, my goodness. So the thing is, the people who are selling these weapons. It's all about the money. They want the money. They want so it's a sale, and it really doesn't matter who's coming in to buy them as long as someone's coming in to buy them. But wait a minute, man, there's got to be a system in place and laws in place that says, you know, uh, we can't just sell weapons to anyone who walks through the door. This kid literally within I think they said 2 weeks if I ever heard correctly, but it's, no sooner than he turned 18, he went and purchased these weapons. And what does this kid need these weapons for? I mean, it's just mind-boggling, and I think the age should be raised to 40, 45. And, I know that's up in age, but at least that gives the opportunity to gauge someone's character, and by that time you kind of know what they've done with their lives, and if they're have a criminal background and so forth, and if that's the case, then they don't get the weapon.
I mean, I'm
Uh,
looking at this story, and it's titled "What an AR-15 Can Do to the Human Body," and it says when a patient is shot by an AR-15, it looks like a grenade went off in there.
wow, yeah.
And that was from 2016, the National Rifle Association annual meeting. Organs kill.
The thing is, he was killing little kids with this weapon. You know, I mean, just and I heard today in the same classroom, so it was probably one classroom of children, teacher, I would presume, and they're defenseless.
They
Man,
said he took his grandmother before he
yeah,
killed his grandmother, and then he went to the school.
he shot his grandmother in the head first, and then he left for the school. Somehow he got into a wreck on the way to the school. He gets in a wreck just outside of the school. He's already having a shootout with the police, and somehow makes it into the school and then kills these people. From what I've seen on the timeline earlier, so he shoots his grandmother in the head, takes the vehicle. He didn't. Matter of fact, I heard on one broadcast that he didn't know how to drive, and so he was having trouble putting the truck in gear. Then when he does get it in gear, he peels out and he starts heading to the school. And at some point, I guess the cops get behind him, probably because of the way he was driving, I would assume. A shootout occurs, but somehow he made it into the school and still killed these people. So, I mean, my goodness.
It's a sad one. I mean, I always just thought that guns to civilians just isn't really something that's needed.
Brother
But
Theo Edwards Abiyazid saying that AR is not automatic. It's I think it's a semi-automatic, but he says it's just a rifle. It's not any more powerful than any other rifle. You can make any gun automatic, and that's what I was saying. That I believe it's a semi-automatic that they can put some type of a contraption on to make it automatic. Um, I don't know much about weapons. I've never had any interest in weapons, but I know one thing that AR-15 seems to be a pretty popular gun for these mass shooters, and I don't understand it, man. I don't understand it.
well, we may all preserve their families, and
Yeah.
it's I think Dr. Solomon, Omar Solomon, he's been quite vocal about what's happened, and he's speaking out against it. But
Yeah.
This is it's a bigger discussion point, especially in that part of the world
Yeah.
where these things are legal.
Yeah.
We've got gun crime, but it wasn't as common, and obviously it's illegal here, but it does happen.
Yeah.
But it's
Brother, have you had any shootings in schools like this? Have you that you've heard of?
it. I mean, no, it's actually just been sort of like gang warfare,
Yeah.
or thing. Never a school,
Yeah.
because it's not. They're not easy to. I mean, you've got to be in touch with a high level of gangster to top
Get
level, yeah, to get it into the
to get
country, or
weapons, you're saying.
but yeah, you know what I mean.
Oh
It's not
yeah, yeah.
something. What they were doing was they were the air pistols or the air rifles basically. So
Yeah.
they were drilling holes into the canal to make it bigger basically, so
Uh
it would shoot a bullet. That's what they were doing
mm,
at one point, but it was all regulated and there's been laws in place to make sure it's heavily regulated, to put an end to it. But it's not a common thing. But
yeah.
why would anybody sort of go into a school? I mean, the schools are gated actually. I mean, to be fair, it is a case that the schools have a lot of security, like they have primary gates and security systems in place
Hmm.
before anybody could actually go into a school. Over the years, they've had to make it a lot more safer, and had systems in place because just even a local elementary school, there's one security gate, and that's a video camera and buzzer system, and that's 700 to 1,000 feet away from the main gate of the school.
Yeah.
Then you walk through, and there's a filtering place through, so there's not too many people coming in. There's another gate, and then so it's actually quite thinking about it. They have made schools more secure, but not because of gun crime, but just because of people wandering in and child safety, and you
Sure.
know maybe parents are having a dispute and a divorce, and someone tries to access a child during
Yeah.
school hours, that sort of thing really. But other than that, we've never had any sort of major gun violence here. It's been knife crime.
Yeah.
uh,
Well, someone, I was, as I mentioned earlier, that was having discussion on social media, and someone brought that point up about knives. That what are we supposed to do? Ban people kill people with knives as well? Are we supposed to ban all the knives? Well, listen. I mean, let's be realistic. I would much rather deal with someone who has a knife than someone who has a gun with a bunch of bullets in it. I mean, you can't fight a bullet, but you can, at least with a knife, you have the opportunity to defend yourself. And it's much harder for, if this guy had a knife and he's trying to go in and kill, all these children and so forth. That's going to take a lot of time, and but it takes mere seconds to kill, numerous people with a weapon, with a gun. And so, man, it's just the pathetic excuses that people have when talking about these issues. And the thing is that you know it's wonderful that it's wonderful. Like you talking about taking they having to take the air rifles and so forth to modify them so they can shoot a bullet. I'm thinking, man, that's great. I wish that was the scenario here because there'd be a lot less gun violence. I mean, it's crazy here. It's crazy, man. I mean, especially in a big city like Houston, not where I live. It's a nightly occurrence. Someone's getting shot on a daily. And it's because people are going through various forms of mental illness. They've got stress. They feel they're being cheated on, or whatever the circumstances are, and they've got access to these weapons. Well, if they didn't have access to these weapons, they'd have to do something different. They'd have to either calm down, or if they want to get a knife and try to go that route and try to fight somebody hand to hand and try to kill them with a knife. Okay, well, at least that ups the odds as far as someone actually dying from the attack. Um, it's, man, I wish that's what we were dealing with here. just dealing with knives.
Yeah, I mean, we had a situation that was just in the news, and there was a guy who was mentally disturbed, and he had a machete,
Yeah.
and he got onto a train, and he just started going, and one guy was he got fascinated with just one guy, and he was doing blow after blow, but people managed to grab hold of him and stop him, and the guy survived basically
Yeah.
until the police came. And obviously that's a more dangerous situation because you're on a train and it's a closed compartment of 30 people, but yeah, they were able to just
Subdue him, right? If he had a gun, they would have been running for their lives. They wouldn't have tried to intervene, most likely.
well, you're
Maybe,
just a
but
sitting duck, yeah. and
yeah,
and yeah, the thing is, in America, I was always sort of, whenever we sort of visited, I was more aware of, like how I reacted to people, because I was like, they've got guns, so everybody is more calmer because the other guy might be packing something also. Do you
yeah,
know what I mean? So that
yeah,
way, it's like, okay, well, I might have, if I've got something, but so is the other guy, so I got to keep calm and all the rest of it. But what happens here is also, and these video games also have a lot to play with it.
oh
I,
sure,
you you're playing those games 8 hours a day, and sort of in your mind, you're grabbing a car, you hijack a car, you go, you can, you go to the shops, you get a gun, and it's all, everything, every game is set up that
it's
you know
desensitizing.
you
Yeah,
work your way up.
yeah,
Like one of the biggest, Grand Theft Auto is a crime. One of the biggest games in the world is
crime
based
after
on,
crime being committed. Yeah,
yeah, is a crime being committed, and you're coming out of prison basically, and you start from thing, and you start doing criminal jobs and work your way up, and then you buy a crib, and you buy a gun, you have weapons, you build up your armor, and that's the game essentially, you
yeah,
know, and that's been the most one of the most popular games
yeah,
of all time. So you've got to see what is people feeding their minds,
yeah,
because they're not feeding religion. Can you imagine if you're feeding yourself religion and peace and knowledge and understanding of mankind, and all these things? Um, what the difference is to compared to playing a game for 8 hours, uh, where you are killing people, shooting people, committing crimes, basically.
yeah,
What's going to have that, you sort of programming your mind
yeah.
to be in that zone, and I can understand how it has an effect on these youngsters.
Sure, sure, absolutely. And the thing is, we're in such a dire situation here in the United States that they're never going to be able to get a handle on the gun situation ever, never ever, because there's so many that are already out in society. There's obviously people aren't going to just turn their guns in. Matter of fact, one of the some of the advocates that I was talking to earlier were, and they get making a good point about the atrocities that Hitler committed, and Stalin and so forth, committing against their own people, and this right to bear arms initially give civilians the right to defend themselves against other civilians and the government for that matter. And so, yeah, that's all fine and dandy. That's fantastic, but there's so many weapons that are out there that there's no way that, for one, these people are not going to just let's say they try to implement a new law. It's an impossibility. It will never work. They would never be able to implement a law to where any these weapons are banned. They'll never do that because the civilians are not going to they're not going to allow it, and they're not going to turn their weapons in. They'll never get them off the street. And the thing is, even if they did, it would be a scenario where, just like in prohibition in the 1920s and 30s and so forth, where they were selling alcohol on the black market, it'd be the same thing. That already exists now, for that matter. People are already selling weapons on the black market. It would just increase and intensify. And so the thing is that they've made it. We've got the black market issue happening alongside people having the ability to go and buy a legal firearm. Well, some of these people who are buying legal firearms are doing illegal things with those legal firearms that they purchased. And that's the reality of it. Just like this kid that killed these people, these children and so forth in Uvalde. He went and bought these guns legally and with the intention of doing some very illegal things. So there's so many weapons out there. If someone wants to get access to a weapon, they're breaking in people's homes to do it. They're going to be able to find the weaponry to do what they want to do. And it's something that we'll never get a grasp on. Ever, never, ever, ever, never. It's impossible.
It's too fast, and it's ingrained in your constitution
Yeah.
and the fabric of the country.
Yeah.
The right to vote and the right to bear arms.
Yeah.
Freedom of religion, freedom of expression.
Yeah.
These are constitutional backbones, which once they're implemented, it's very, very hard to pull yourself back out of it.
Yeah. It's a lost cause, to be honest. So the politicians, in a lot of ways, not to defend them because I don't like politicians at all, but nevertheless, I'm sure that there must be some out there that have good intentions, and they would like to do something, but their hands are somewhat tied because the powers that be, the money pushers, the ones that are the NRA backers and these organizations and so forth. Man, that's power. They've got the money, and where there's money, there's power, and it puts a senator and a congressman and so forth in a situation where, look, I'm trying, but what can I do? So instead of fighting the battle, just like any other thing, it's much easier just to give in and become somewhat indoctrinated into the system that's in place than it is. It's much easier to do that. Just go with it, go with the flow of everything, than it is to buck the system and try to fight against it, because you're fighting a battle that there's probably no chance of ever winning. And it's
we notice it when it happens in the West, the taking of innocent lives. But you look around the world where this is also happening, and then
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, doing fine. So, brother, friendly Muslim, if you want to finish your thought, feel free to do so.
So it's one of those things that you are. It's what was I saying? What was I talking about? I just went.
No, it's okay. I didn't want to have you cut off.
No, that's fine. Carry on. I was interested in brother Sialad was coming.
Yeah, I want to ask him, brother. So, what do you think, brother? I know you got a lot to say about this, and what do you think about this whole situation?
This is extremely unfortunate.
Yeah.
Extremely disturbing situation.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this tends to happen a lot of times when an incident happens. Afterwards you have the copycats that come seeking attention also, or they're motivated, or by what they see someone else does. And the shooter in Buffalo, that was his intention, his stated intention in his manifesto. He wanted to motivate other people to do mass killings as well.
Did you hear me say earlier that a high school student here in Houston today was caught with a firearm on campus?
Yeah,
I don't know what type of firearm or what the circumstances behind it, but that happened just today. So
yeah. With both of these situations, with this person in Texas and the person in New York State, I think you already said it. This guy in Texas, he went out and bought 2 AR-15s and body armor after he turned 18. He just turned 18.
Yeah.
So something like that. Like the questions that pop in my mind is, one, at 18, how do you get money for that? Like, where does the money come from to buy 2 AR-15s and body armor?
I
That's not
seen
cheap.
I seen he was working somewhere because they said that he's 18 and he should have been graduating this year, but he was taking sophomore classes, and that one girl that he went to school with, she said that I guess he was a pretty odd character. One day he came to school and he had scars on his face. I don't know if y'all seen that or not, but he had some scars on his face, and someone asked him, "Hey, what happened? Did you all right? You got these marks on your face." He said that he did it to himself because he likes the way it looked. Well, that girl who was telling that story, she worked with him somewhere, so he had a job somewhere. I don't know what. He didn't say where he was working, but he had a job somewhere. But nevertheless, with or without the money, what in the world? Why would someone, the mere fact that an 18-year-old who is still a kid, I mean, we've all been 18 years old thinking that we knew everything, thinking we're grown. We weren't grown. We had a whole lot to learn. And how in the world can it be that the law is that, someone the age of 18 can go and purchase these weapons? I mean,
Well, the purpose of me asking of where would he have gotten the money to get 2 AR-15s and body armor is because there has to be there are a lot of things that have to change. So one of the things that I believe that needs to be done and changed is, when people do this, because here in Michigan, you probably remember there was a shooting at Oxford High School. This was last year. Last year. It was like a 15-year-old boy, 15-year-old boy that did that. His parents bought him the gun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So his parents, he's on trial, but his parents are on trial. His parents bought him the gun. His parents knew that he had mental issues. His parents knew that he was making, drawing pictures of people dying and getting shot. They found a text message from his mother the day of the shooting telling him, "Don't do anything stupid." So my thing is, if you're 17 years old turning 18 years old, you don't live on your own. You live with someone else. And you've got AR-15s in your room, you got body armor in your room, you're making plans and writing manifestos, you're all online talking about what you're getting ready. Somebody has to know before it happens what's coming. So my son, inshallah, wouldn't be able to have that in his room without me finding it or knowing it or sensing something is wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not just that, we like to call these people lone, what's the word they use?
Lone wolf.
Lone wolf. They're not lone wolf. We need to stop that. They're not lone wolves. They're talking to people. They are part of communities online. They're discussing what they want to do online. They're planning what they want to do online with other people. They're getting a hold of these weapons somehow. They're raising the money to get these weapons somehow. They're obviously consulting with people to find out what they need to do, what they need to get in order to do this. So I'm saying this to say that people either know what these people are getting ready to do, or people should be responsible enough to contact the authorities to say that there's unusual activity going on with this individual.
Yeah.
And people aren't doing that. And it needs to be made so people can do that. The same way, you have RICO laws, right? If a person is engaged in a criminal enterprise or a criminal organization, they don't just arrest that person. Everyone connected to that person, if they discuss anything, any of the crimes that they're brought up against with anyone, they plan anything with anyone, if anybody knows what's going on, they all get indicted. They all get indicted in the RICO. And I think that's one of the laws that needs to be passed, that with these so-called lone wolves, they're not lone wolves. Everybody involved with them comes in contact with them, and they can be proven that the person had knowledge or should have had knowledge or should have been responsible enough to contact the authorities needs to be indicted in these under federal charges.
Yeah.
If you helped him get a weapon, you need to be indicted under federal charges. If you gave him the money to go get these weapons, you need to be indicted under federal charges. If you were online talking with him and talking about killing people, talking about mass shootings, talking about what's the best way to kill, because these are some of the conversations these people, if you look and investigate these shooters, they're online having discussions with people about, what's the best way to increase the kill count. People have these type of chat rooms online. No, FBI, CIA, whoever, state police, they've got the technology. They monitor everything that's going on. You can trace them all the way down to the IP address, to what computer they were using, what house they were in. Everybody who was in a chat room having a conversation with that person, you all get indicted. So what that does, it puts pressure on people that when you see unusual activity, violent activity out of a person, you can't just sit back and say, I'm not going to say anything because they're my family member. I'm not going to say anything because they're my friend. Or you can't just sit back and think it's a joke to plan and talk about mass killings online and to be a part of these type of chat rooms and these type of chat groups. That needs to be taken care of. And I think coming down harshly on people is the only way you're going to get them to stop.
Yeah. Obviously sometimes people just snap and they commit crimes, but these types of things, you don't go and purchase body armor and so forth, and it just be something that you just did spontaneously.
And look at that. Yeah, that's not spontaneous. So that means this shooter was not. It wasn't that he saw the Buffalo shooter and said, "Let me get up and go buy AR-15s and body armor," because you have to plan that out. You have to get the money. You have to find out what equipment to get. You have to go get the equipment. So that means he was planning this out before that. So don't you find it odd that these two things happen back to back?
Yeah.
That's it. In my mind, that tells me there's been planning online.
Yeah.
His
grandfather, I seen an interview he lived with his grandparents, and his grandfather said that he didn't know how he got those weapons. He didn't know he had them there. He didn't know he had the body armor. It's like, what do you mean? You don't.
Okay.
How did you bring the body armor and so forth?
No. It's the same thing with the RICO. If somebody lives in your house and they're selling drugs, you can't say, well, I didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
No, you get indicted. Your house can be confiscated. If they used your car and they were delivering drugs, your car gets confiscated. That may seem harsh to some people, but I think that's something that needs to be implemented. And then the FBI, the federal authorities need to stop playing around with this, because this, in my opinion, there's been how would you say this? They haven't come down as serious on this because of the people that are doing it. Yeah. If these were Muslims, if these were people of color, even though this shooter, I think he may be Hispanic.
Yeah,
he's Hispanic, but still, with some of these other shooters, the whole force of the police, the whole entire force of state police, the whole entire force of the federal FBI, CIA would have been, mustered together to get this person, anyone else around this person, and to get anyone else who may be involved. Think about what since 9/11, the type of cases that have happened with Muslims. You've had Muslims just because they said something online, or somebody comes to them and gets into a conversation and they're recording the conversation, and the person says something, just an off comment. There's a brother who there's a documentary with it was a brother from Morocco. His brother was involved with terrorism, and his brother called him and said, "Guess who I have on the phone?" And he had Osama bin Laden on the phone,
Hmm.
and the brother he's not involved in it. His brother gives him the phone. He gives him salams. Just because of that, he did 20 years in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh wow.
So the authorities know how to be strict and hard, but they haven't been doing this when it comes to this domestic terrorism thing.
Yeah.
And there needs to be some type of grand jury. There needs to be some type of Senate hearing. There needs to be something that somebody does to, why are you not, you look what you did to other communities that you accused of terrorism. Why are you not doing the same thing with this issue?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you notice
that's
the
what
media,
I said.
the media don't mention the person's religion at all.
No.
You know,
No,
and if it had
no,
been
no.
a Muslim, they would have said Muslim first. Whether he's got a mental health issue or not, they'll still call him a Muslim, because it's happened that there's been people that just have mental health issues, and you know they've gone off the rails. But you'll notice that they're not quick to identify them as a Muslim, or you know when it's a Christian that it happens to, or any other faith, is that they'll never mention it in the media.
Matter of fact, I haven't even heard the word terrorism mentioned in everything that I've seen so far. I haven't been watching it 24 hours a day or anything like that. But the times what I have seen, I haven't heard the word terrorism. Obviously, it's an act of terrorism, but I haven't heard that word mentioned. And certainly, as you mentioned, I certainly haven't heard religion mentioned.
No, the definition of terrorism, if you look it up, is political violence.
Yeah.
Now, this violence has been political.
Yeah.
If you look at the things that these people write themselves, their manifestos, you look at what they're doing online, they're saying they're doing this for political reasons. So that's, by definition, that's terrorism. But because of who's doing it, how they look, how they appear, what group they come from, the dominant society won't label them terrorist, or they don't want to label them terrorist. You got people out here, we talk about the gun problem. You got people out here in every state, but I know here in Michigan, you have the Michigan militia. You got people out here, former military, police officers who belong to secret societies, who are out in the middle of the woods doing paramilitary training, talking about overthrowing the government. They're allowed to do that, and nobody stops them. Nobody, and it goes, oh, well, you can't trample on their rights. But why is it with other groups, with other people, if it's a person of color, if they're Muslim, if they look at a gun, you got 50 guns pointed to their head, and they're going to do 20 years in prison.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's an unfairness that's going. There's some unfairness going on with the law enforcement and the judicial system about how they enforce laws and who they come down on and how they come down on people. I mean, that the Christchurch terrorist. You know, let's be real. After that happened, there was a newspaper, I believe it was in Britain. I know it was over in Europe. They put a story on the front page of this guy when he was a little boy. They showed a picture of him when he was a toddler. And the headline said, "How could this angelic blue-eyed boy do something so evil?" So that tells you right there, there's a bias. And as long as these people target, depending on who they target, the bias keeps going on. Okay, you go kill a bunch of black people in a supermarket. You kill a bunch of Hispanic people in a Walmart or at a school. You do this, you do that. Hearts and prayers. It's big, but you don't do anything. But let someone do something to you, then all of a sudden, now we're willing to spend billions of dollars, trillions of dollars for safety and law enforcement to make sure this never happens again.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. And the whole reason we have so many guns in the United States of America, I know you made everybody can't get a gun. Let's say this. I know people, I have family members who have attempted to, just buy shotguns just for home protection,
Yeah.
and they were denied. So everybody can't get a gun.
Well, that's correct. You're right. Yeah.
Everybody can't get a gun, and everybody doesn't have a hard time. Everybody doesn't have an easy time getting a gun, but certain people seem like they have a very easy time getting a gun.
Yeah.
And so you've got people who've got the Las Vegas shooter, and that's another thing. The news treats these things like it gets us. This unfortunate shooting 2 weeks from now, people are going to forget about it.
Yeah.
That's what's really unfortunate.
To the next one.
On to the next one. But remember the Las Vegas shooter. The Las Vegas shooter was a terrorist. The Las Vegas shooter had political ideas and leanings, far right political ideas and leanings. They tried to downplay that. But this man had an arsenal. You can forget two AR-15s. This guy had an arsenal of guns and ammunition in his house and inside the hotel room that he stayed at in Las Vegas. So how are you got individuals who are allowed to stockpile guns, ammunition, and weapons? And then you got other groups of people. They come into a gun shop and they get harassed and ask why are you here? Why are you again? This is some biasness that's going on, and it's allowing these type of situations to happen. The whole gun culture thing. A lot of that is based in racism. I have to be honest with you.
Well, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. We've got to have guns because we have to protect ourselves from black people. We have to protect ourselves from Mexicans coming over the border.
Yeah.
I got to protect my family. So I got to protect my family. So I need,
let's be real with it. That's a fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. That's matter of fact, I was saying the same thing earlier, that it's inevitably it's cowards that are behind these the Second Amendment issue, and I understand wanting to protect your family. I totally respect that and understand that, but it's deeper than that. It's far deeper than that. And you're exactly correct. It stems from racism in the country. It stems from people afraid that the minorities are going to come and take over. And, you better look out because they're coming. They're in the backyard. They're crawling over the fence. It doesn't matter if it's someone of a different religion or a different skin color. That's the reality of it. And to me, it's so cowardly, and it's fuel for the fire of these types of things that have transpired. With these mass shootings. I mean, it's just a disgusting situation that we're in. And let's be honest, I don't see it ever getting better. I don't see how it could. I don't see how they're going to be able to do anything that's going to change the circumstances. We'll be talking about another mass shooting soon. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And it's sad, man.
There was a movie, and I can't remember what it was, either Boys in the Hood, or there was some movie, and I always remember the way they expressed it. It was like, they were like, oh, why is it in these black communities there's, guns and drugs? And they were like, well, how you think we got them here? We ain't got no boats. We ain't got no access to Russian Kalashnikovs and all these AR-15s and guns and stuff. Where do you think we get them from? We ain't got no boats and planes, and where are the drugs coming from? And they were coming from like Afghanistan, and, Mexico and things like that. So where do you think that they got flooded into the country from?
That's I've read about all this in a book. I've talked about it a few times on the show. Book titled "The Theories of Yaqub," which all addresses population control, and part of population control is the mass movement of people from one area to another, such as, by example, moving from the inner city out to the suburbs, and after a period of 15, 20 years or so, that particular group will move back they'll move from the inner city to the suburbs, and then once people of the other race start trickling in, they'll move back and start investing money in the inner city again and move back to the inner city, and it's a nonstop back and forth. But what happens in major cities and small towns for that matter, but major cities for sure, is that you have what's called, the quote unquote black areas of town, and they purposely funnel in drugs. There's a multitude of liquor stores, and there's access to weapons and so forth, and that is exactly right. They're doing it for a purpose of population control, because they want, for one, those communities within themselves, they want them to implode upon themselves. And so what do? They give them the weaponry in order for that to occur. And that weaponry is not just the firearms, but it's also the crack and the alcohol and whatever else they can funnel in to try to make these communities dissolve from within. It's all part of population control, so that the people that we're talking about, these white people, when it boils down to it, so that they can feel safe, so they keep moving away from where those communities are and funneling in. The big government's funneling in these items that they can use against themselves. And, every 15, 20 years, they're going to start making this shift again.
Yeah, because property prices go down.
Yeah.
Go down to the barrel. Then all of a sudden, oh, fine, you move those people out, you buy it cheap, you regenerate the area, boom. The land becomes cheap again. Now it's expensive land. And you redevelop it. Government grants, all these sort of things that come into it, and then you move on to the next place, and that's really what happens, isn't it?
That's literally happening where I live right now. I live in Midtown in Houston, and this area is being developed. It's a lot of money being spent. Matter of fact, literally right beside me, there's a brand new high-rise apartment building that's being built, and so they're developing the area right now as we speak. And you could literally see it now. In our lifetime, we just we're living our lives as commoners, and so people aren't really realizing what's transpiring. But these are well thought out plans, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist by no means, but these are well thought out plans. These are systems that they put in place, and they know what they're doing. It's an investment in the future, just like any other political movement. A political movement is they are investing in the future. So they're trying to push their campaign, trying to push the people they're trying to back and so forth. Just like any other thing, they're investing in the future. Why? Because that investment, that time spent, those systems that they're putting in place are a security for their future. And the more people who become a part of that system, the less people that are going to be there to kick back against it. And some of the people, they don't want them to be part of their system at all. And that's why, it's crazy, man. Just, you can drive around Houston and you see that you've crossed over from from one area of town where you see a particular race of people to now we're in a different period, area of town, and just literally almost right across the street, you can see the change in the conditions right across the street. And this is the reality in every major city that we have in this country. It's just
that's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
I think another aspect of this, and this is kind of a sticky subject because we're online right now. We're speaking online right now. We have platforms online, but nobody wants regulation of people's speech. But something has to be done with the online platforms. I'm not sure what the answer is. There's rhetoric online. As I stated earlier, people are planning these mass shootings and these terrorist acts online. They're talking to each other about it. They're streaming it online, and it's already been shown with the algorithms and whistleblowers from Facebook to whatever. that a lot of these platforms, they're purposely promoting hateful speech
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they know
And
it gets.
see, the thing is, and then what comes into play is another amendment. You know, the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. You know, wanting to give people the right to say and you know, say things that are unpopular, and the right to refuse to say things that the government wants you to say, and so forth. And so there's so many things that are in place. We almost, I'm going to say this without we've almost got too many freedoms. And I know that might sound crazy, but I mean, we live in a society where people can just do anything and everything. And you know, I mean, yeah, we have some laws and so forth, but I mean, literally, people can walk down the street nearly butt naked, and it's okay. And people can buy firearms left and right, and it's okay. People can consume alcohol, and it's okay. People can go to these sports stadiums and watch these athletes pay, you know, get paid millions of dollars per game while there's people sleeping in the elements on the streets right outside the stadiums, but it's okay, you know. So there's so much corruption and there's so much evil, you know. It's, you know, when I think about all these things, there's only one solution to it all that comes to mind. You already know what I'm going to say. It's Islam. It's the only system that I can think of, literally, that has the answer for every single one of these things that we're talking about.
But I think you alluded to this earlier. They have demonized religion.
Yeah, that's true.
It's this younger generation. You can't even use the word religion with them.
Yeah,
They immediately become turned off.
just
They
shut off.
immediately
Yeah.
You know, you can't talk about it because this is the way we raised them.
Yeah.
Not us individually, but the society.
Sure.
You know, the society has turned people against religion. It has turned people against, like you said, having rules, having guidelines, having limitations. You know, even if, I mean, let's face it, the First Amendment and the Second Amendment aren't new, but you had religion that told people how to conduct themselves in society.
Yeah.
And what they were allowed to do, how far you were allowed to go with what were you allowed to say and what you were not allowed to say. You know, a lot of the stuff, like think about the stuff that's on TV now. You couldn't even, there was a time period where if two actors were supposed to be husband and wife, they couldn't be in the same bed together.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well.
Yeah,
me and
like
my wife
Ozzy
call
and
it
Harriet.
Fred and Ethel, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that. You couldn't kiss. You couldn't, you know, now we're way beyond that.
Oh man.
We're on something completely different. And this is because you remove religion from society. You want it to be a secular society. You want to demonize people for believing in God, demonize people for, you want to call them stupid, you want to call them old-fashioned.
Yeah.
So now you've made the people turned off from that, and now they have no restraints. There's nothing to tell people how to live a life.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to the political movement. I'm not saying it's a political movement, but inevitably, it's an investment in the future. But what's being invested here? You know, as you mentioned, the children of today are being raised in a situation where it's almost godless, because, you know, they've got, for one, they've got their head in their phones, you know, so much, and there's so much perversity, you know, so much negativity and bad things that they're seeing. Their minds aren't on our Creator by no means. They don't care about that. They could care less about that. They have too much that the world is offering them just right there in their fingertips, you know, in the palm of their hand. They're being exposed to so much. Why do they want to stop and think about, you know, God? You know, they don't. And that's therein lies the problem. You take the prayer out of the school, first and foremost. You remove the prayer from the school. What does it hurt? I mean, honestly, I can remember when I was a kid and we would do the Pledge of Allegiance and we would say a prayer. Brother Abiazi, did you do that in your time?
I didn't do that. I didn't do that
Okay.
in our time, but there
When
were
I was
other
in
stuff that,
elementary school, we did that. You know, I'm a little bit older than you, and we did that. I remember doing it. And then suddenly you take the prayer out of school. Listen, any prayer is better than no prayer. You know,
yeah, yeah.
I just got off an inspection contract, and twice a day, these people are praying in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and I'm praying. I'm reciting Al-Fatiha in my mind, but I'm thinking, nevertheless, at least these people are stopping to pray at least twice a day, in the morning and at lunchtime. These people were stopping to pray during our meeting, and alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah. I'm much more satisfied with that than, I'm certainly not praying in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit by no means, but you understand what I'm getting at, that at least
Yes.
these people were praying. So at least give these children the opportunity, to say,
But-
some type of prayer.
But look how backwards things are.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do that, if you wanted to have the kids pray in school, people would lose their minds. There would be
Oh, man, they'd
protests.
go crazy.
You're
Yeah.
stuffing religion down. But let's have a drag queen come in and read stories
And
to the
brother,
kids.
that's what's
Well,
that's
that's-
exactly what's happening. That is literally what's happening. They're feeding. That's what I was talking about the other day. They're feeding them these handouts called the genderbread person and the genderbread unicorn, and they're having these people come and they're promoting this transgenderism, but the kids can't pray. Well, okay. Well, you just listen. You're leading masses of people straight into the pits of hell. These kids are impressionable. They're young. They need to have a God conscience that they're born with. Literally, we're born with a God conscience, and if it's removed from us, it was removed by people that are surrounding us, our parents, our loved ones, people in school, and so it's the people who are removing it. And
Yes.
so now we have a generation of kids that are growing up without a God conscience. And the thing is, here we are, I seen Danny Davis come on earlier, right? And most likely he probably left because I'm just because of my experience with Danny Davis through the years. I'm sure he wanted to come on and try to stir something up, between Christianity and Islam. Typical, right? Instead of coming on and being, and I'm maybe I'm doing this a disservice, but I'm just telling you based on history. I want to make a point about this. Instead of us coming together and talking about issues like we're talking about today with these gun issues and saying, we've got to come together as God conscious people, regardless of what our religious belief is, regardless of what your religion is. If you have a God conscience, then why are we not coming together? Why are we feuding with one another? Why are you trying to demonize one particular religion out of them all, instead of coming together and recognizing, listen, we're trying to guide people to the Creator. We're trying to guide, we stop 5 times a day for prayer. Do you think that's a good thing, or do you think that's a bad thing? I mean, honestly, God conscious individual, a God conscious group. Do you think this other group over here, if you, as an individual, if you see this one man that you happen to work with, he stops 5 times a day, or whatever, or through the course of the day, he may not be there for all 5 prayers, but you see this person routinely and consistently and persistently stopping for prayer. Do you think that's a good thing that he has a God conscience, a fellow Christian or Jew or whoever? Do you think that's good? When I see these Christians, like I was saying, that when I was fulfilling this contract, right? When I was seeing these Christians stop and pray twice a day, I'm thankful to Allah for it, because I would rather work amongst people who, even if their heart's not fully in it, I can't judge the sincerity of someone's heart. They might have just been going through the routine. Listen, only Allah knows that. But at least they're stopping to pray. At least they're trying to put God into the equation. And so, is that a good thing? Why are we not coming together as God conscious people and saying, we're gonna stand up for what we believe is the truth. If you can create an organization to promote, the idea that a man can just decide one day that he's a woman and vice versa, just based on how they think and they feel, despite what their DNA and biology says. If you're going to promote that, well, we're going to get together. We're going to say, you know what? We are a group of interfaith individuals that are coming together to say we demand that these children have the opportunity at least to pray in school. At least, if you're going to try to feed them and funnel them science defying and biology defying and God defying ideas and ideologies, then at least let us counter it and give them the option to choose by allowing them the opportunity to at least pray in whatever prayer, whatever
you could do something like this, even if they wanted to
let them pray.
Even if you wanted to do something like this, you could have a moment of silence.
Yes.
At the beginning of class.
Yes.
You can be silent. You can pray. You can pray to whoever you feel like. You cannot pray. You just be, do some mindfulness and breathing if you want to. But just a couple of minutes before the school begins, just a moment of silence.
Yes. Now let's be honest. A person can do that on their own, but the effectiveness of stopping and by example, the purpose of us praying, the importance of praying in congregation and coming together as fellow believers, it creates a sense of unity amongst believers. It keeps you encouraged. It keeps you part of a community that's thinking on similar grounds and so forth. And so even though someone can technically someone can stop at any moment and take a moment for themselves and pray, so that's great, that's fantastic, but that if you're gonna bring in the man dressed, the bearded lady, and have them the book, the red crayon, read the crayon story, then how about we also, if you're going to influence the masses and influence the group in that way, how about we are able to also take the opportunity to influence the group in the sense of togetherness, to take time to recognize our God, our Creator, in whatever capacity you want to do that,
but
being whatever religion you follow.
It's the same hypocrisy why we have a gun problem.
Yeah.
It's the same hypocrisy and prejudice.
Yeah.
Because for years, they've been teaching your kids how to have sex, how to use condoms. You didn't say nothing. Or if you said something, you didn't do anything about it. Oh, but let them let them have an imam come into the school and talk about Islam. Let them take them on a field trip. Let's go to a synagogue and then we're going to go to a masjid. Then it's, you're trying to, you're ready to almost fight at the school board meeting. Yeah. It shows you what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to.
Yeah, that's a great example. Let's say an imam wanted to come in and talk to people about Islam, right? Talk to these kids about Islam. And there would be an uprising, no doubt about it. There'd be an uprising. And there'd be an uprising, but they're more prone to look away when the transgender person, so-called transgender, there's really no such thing as a transgender person. But nevertheless, these individuals come in and they read from these books and they read from these documents and these handouts and so forth. And they're trying to indoctrinate your children. And you just look away because
you don't even have to go that far,
Aki. You've been caught up in the contagion.
You don't even have to go that far, Aki. The fact that you've got young ladies walking around the school half dressed.
Yeah.
The students are having sets with each other, straight sets. Let's not even bring in the other stuff. Just straight normal sets. They're talking to each other. Their kids are looking at pornography. They're having sex education. Right now you turn 13 years old. The nurses, even the school nurse, can tell your kid, you can come to us for birth control. You don't have to. We won't tell your parents. You won't get up. You won't storm the boardroom over that.
Yeah.
even though that's against the Bible.
Not only that, along the lines that you just spoke in regards to this transgenderism, do you know that in some states, California in particular, New York, that if a child identifies as the opposite sex, that they can go and be put on without the permission of their parents, without their parents even knowing, they can go and be recognized at the school as the opposite sex, and also have access to go and get put on puberty blockers and cross-sex
Mhm.
hormones and so forth without the approval of their parents.
Yep.
And a girl by at the age of 16, if she's been living, by example, if she's been living as a male for at least a year, she can go have a double mastectomy done without the approval of her parents, without her parents even knowing. They have put the system in place to where they allow them to do this. They're pushing them towards doing this, and it's just, man, it's crazy, man. Matter of fact, I recommend that people read this book right here. Speaking about that in particular, this book titled "Irreversible Damage" by Abigail Schreier. It's quite telling, and it's talking about females in particular, how the number of so-called female transgender people in the world has increased like immensely. And I don't know I can't remember the stats right off the top of my head, but it's
But see, this is why when I was still Christian, I used to be I was conservative, politically conservative for a while. And I let that stuff go because I saw the hypocrisy of it. Because I remember speaking to I had a friend who was in the Republican Party in the state of Michigan, and he was friends with like a state senator. We had a conversation, and I said to them, "Okay, if this is just about conservative values, then why don't you guys make a coalition with whoever has conservative values, regardless of what their religion is or what their race is? You know, if we don't, this isn't about religion. This isn't about a particular race. It's just conservative values, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So why would it matter if somebody's Muslim or if they were Hindu or something else? And they don't do that. They're not going to make a coalition with anyone that's different from them.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about conservative values. That's not the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's about prejudice. And as we just said, there's certain things. There's mass hypocrisy about what they'll get up in arms about, and what they won't get up in arms about.
Yeah.
What they'll tolerate and what they won't tolerate.
It's crazy, man.
Me personally, I obviously don't agree with Christianity. Don't agree with Judaism. Certainly don't agree with Hinduism. But I would rather live next door to a Hindu than live next door to an atheist.
Well, sure. Yeah.
That's me personally.
Yeah.
I'd rather live next door to a Hindu family than a family of atheists, because even though we don't worship the same thing, at least they have a religion, they have a moral code about themselves of some sort. But if you're going to have a society of people, they don't believe in God at all. They don't believe in truth. Truth is whatever you think it is, whatever you feel it is. Morality is whatever you think and feel it is.
Yeah. Subjective, right?
That's chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be surprised that the whole entire culture and the whole entire country is devolving into chaos.
Listen to this, man. I'm reading from this book, Irreversible Damage by Abigail Schreier. It says between 2016 and 2017, the number of gender surgeries for natal females in the United States quadrupled. The biological women suddenly accounting for, as we have seen, 70% of all gender surgeries. In 2018, the UK reported a 4,400% rise over the previous decade in teenage girls seeking gender treatments. 4,400% rise, man. It says in Canada, Sweden, Finland, and the UK, clinicians and gender therapists began reporting a sudden and dramatic shift in the demographics of those presenting with gender dysphoria, from predominantly preschool age boys to predominantly adolescent girls. So there's been a shift in the number of females that are being these ideologies are being marketed to. Whereas it used to be more common for it to be male wanting to transition to a female. Now it's an increase in the females that are wanting to transition. It's crazy, man. It's pure insanity. It says first, the clear majority, 65% of the adolescent girls who had discovered transgender identity in adolescence out of the blue, quote unquote, had done so after a period of prolonged social media immersion. Second, the prevalence of transgender identification within some of the girls' friends groups was more than 70 times the expected rate. And so what they're doing is they're going to TikTok and they're watching these TikTok videos and these transgender influencers that are feeding them these ideas that if you feel uncomfortable in your body, just like every adolescent does, every human being goes to a point where you go, especially in your younger age, where you feel uncomfortable within yourself because you see, especially around puberty, when you sense changes occurring. And let's face it, sometimes people feel that they're not getting the attention that other people are getting because they feel maybe that they're ugly or the other person is more attractive or they're built better. And this is especially important for females. They go through this, and her breasts are bigger than mine, and that whole scenario. And they feel uncomfortable within themselves. So it'd be easier. Some of them start, matter of fact, they talk about this in what I've been studying, that they start trying to cover their breasts, which is fine and fantastic. But what they're trying to do is conceal them to the point that make them look like they're male. So they have them pressed down. They're not just, covering themselves in modesty. They're trying to literally change the way their body looks, because what they have, they're not, they feel self-conscious about. And so they are teaching them that if you feel this way, if you think or feel this way, if you feel unconscious, self-conscious about your body, it could be because you are the opposite sex. What are you talking about, man? These are common things that human beings go through. These are common emotions and common thoughts that people go through. But they're literally indoctrinating them with the idea that if you feel that way, then it's probably because you're the opposite sex. I mean, come on.
But that goes along with the sentiment nowadays that no one is supposed to feel uncomfortable. No one is supposed to be offended. No one is ever to get their feelings hurt. So yeah, if you're a young person and you don't like your body, you shouldn't get your feelings. Your feelings shouldn't be hurt. So maybe you should get a sex change. You get you a new body. You change your body.
Well, yeah. So that's what this whole idea of transgenderism is promoting. That if you self-identify, which obviously that happens in the mind. And so instead of when you have this issue about your body that you feel, by example, some people feel that they're an amputee. They literally believe that they are an amputee, even though they can see all four of their limbs. They truly believe sincerely. It's called body identity integrity disorder, BIID, body identity integrity disorder. And this describes people who have some type of a flaw. And by example, they feel like they're an amputee, even though they can see their perfectly good limbs. They still believe in their mind that they're an amputee. But instead of treating them for that mental health issue, they are promoting the idea that you should go ahead and change your body to match what your mind thinks. That's the devil, and let's face it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates. Satan, Iblis, cannot create. He can only try to destroy the creation of Allah. And he'll do so through many different methods because he cannot create. He cannot create. He can only try to destroy. And so what is he trying to do? Inevitably trying to change and alter the creation of Allah by using this group to indoctrinate these people into believing that they can, if they change their body to match what their mind thinks, everything's going to be okay. So that's telling the amputee, the person who thinks that they're an amputee, that thinks they don't deserve to have all four limbs. I know that sounds crazy, but this body identity integrity disorder, they literally they don't believe that they should have all four limbs because they're an amputee. They really believe this. And so some of them go and try to seek out medical surgery to have an arm or a leg removed so they can literally be the amputee that they see themselves to be. So instead of treating that mental illness, these people are encouraging. It's like encouraging someone saying, to pacify that person or to not hurt that person's feelings, as you mentioned earlier. In order to not hurt that person's feelings, you say, "Oh yeah, you probably are an amputee. You probably should go and get your arm chopped off."
Doesn't Islamophobia sound crazy when you hear this? You have people online here and everywhere talking about Muslims are taking over America and we're getting ready to implement Sharia law. That's the last thing that's getting ready to happen.
Yeah.
If you lined up the possibilities of things that are going to happen, Muslims taking over and implementing Sharia law is not going to happen anytime soon in America.
Man, listen, if Muslims had the ability to get together and implement Sharia law, the place would be we'd be in a better situation than we are than having these LGBTQ people take over and forcing the politicians. The politicians are literally putting these laws in place to support these crazy ideas. I mean, think about that. Think about a person who comes to you and says, "I'm an amputee," and you say, "Well, I kind of disagree because I don't." What do you mean you're an amputee? You have all four limbs. You have all your fingers and toes. Those aren't amputated. You have your two arms. You have your two legs. What do you mean? I self-identify as an amputee, and I expect you to address me as an amputee. Okay. You're an amputee. Well, that's what's happening.
And the thing is, it made me pop in my head the irrationality of it. Yeah. Now, you'll change the norms of society. So now, again, if you feel like you're a woman, if you're a male who feels like he's a woman, okay, now we have to acknowledge you as a woman. We have to call you by your proper pronouns. We have to make accommodations for you, right? But if Muslim parents say, can we have an alternative at lunch, like halal meat for lunch? Oh, you Muslims are trying to take over and implement Sharia.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No. The very thing that is the solution for the problems, they want nothing to do with it. They want nothing to do with it. But everything that's anti that is okay. I mean, it's insane. It's insane, man. Let me read this.
And there's people are so brainwashed they can't even see this.
Yeah. This whole topic gets me worked up to the point that I deleted the show from the other day because I said a couple of things that I wish I didn't say after the show because it gets me worked up. And I don't mean let's make it clear that I'm all for supporting people and fighting against them being oppressed and so forth, but not to the extent that I'm going to allow myself or my community or my family and friends and so forth to be oppressed along the way. I'm not going to give up my right to demand my rights and my freedom from oppression just by trying to support someone else in their inevitably in delusion and mental illness. I mean, that's what it is. Again, going back to the person who would come to you saying and demanding that you recognize them as an amputee. This is a legitimate. I mean, this is real. I'm not just making this up. Body identity integrity disorder. These people really believe this. And so if you can imagine some individual coming and demanding that you recognize them as an amputee, even though you can clearly see their 4 limbs, and not only that, then they have this group behind them that is insisting and making you out to be the bad guy for refusing to acknowledge this person as an amputee that they actually aren't. And that's what's happening. It's like taking someone who is a teenage girl who suffers from what's it called? I can't remember what it's called right now, but she anorexia, right? Or she thinks that she's overweight, but she's really 95 pounds. She's not overweight, but she insists that she's overweight, and they expect you to, by example, to consider this person's feelings and agree with her that she's overweight, even though you can clearly see that she's not overweight. Well, what's the next step? Hey, Shelly, yeah, you are overweight. Maybe you should go get liposuction. That's the answer for you. Or just cut something off your body that way it'll lessen, how much you weigh. You chop off a leg. I'm sure that leg will reduce some of the weight. And I know that's extreme, but that's what we're dealing with here. Because we're dealing with someone's mental health problem, and they're trying to suggest that instead of dealing with the mental health issue through counseling and getting psychiatric help, instead the alternative is, or the answer is, to have physical surgery done. That's going to solve the problem. Contort the body or alter the body, disfigure the body, mutilate the body. Change the body to match what the mind sees it as being. Just like a person who thinks they're a lizard, right? This person thinks I'm really a lizard, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get my face done up, and I'm going to live my life as a lizard. There's some people who do that. Well, that's a mental health issue. Should we all?
Aki, it's going to get worse.
Yeah,
it's going to get because they're talking about this is going to be a whole new industry of body modification.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's going to get. You're going to see all types of things become mainstream that look just incredibly insane.
Well, just think about these. I'm not trying to. In what I'm saying, my intention is not to. I'm not trying to mock anyone. I'm not trying to stomp on anyone's feelings or anything like that. But we have to be real. I mean, for one, we're Muslims, and we have to speak the truth no matter what.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna sacrifice the truth in order to accommodate someone else's thoughts and their feelings. I just can't do that. The facts come first. The biology comes first. And so what I was going to bring up is you mentioned, these things that people are already in the process of doing these drastic alterations, just like the person I mentioned about being a lizard. There's people who literally think they're lizards or whatever else. And it draws my attention to, the people who are, and I know this is something that happens in certain indigenous areas and communities and so forth, but these people who are putting these whatever I forgot what they're called, but the earrings where they're the gauges where they're extending their earlobes. They're extending the earlobes.
That's how they. Yeah. That's how they got society to get to this point.
Yeah.
First it was tattooing. There used to be a time when having tattoos was very controversial. It was looked down upon. Regular people didn't go out and get tattoos. You have to be some type of extreme person, a criminal or something like that to go get a tattoo. Then tattoos became normal. Right. Then, like you said, the putting earrings. Maybe somebody had an earring in one ear. Like you remember the time when like a man had to have an earring, and I forget which ear it was. But like if you had an earring on one side, you were straight, and one side you were gay.
If you had it in the right ear, you was gay, and if you had it in the left ear, it was okay.
Straight.
Yeah.
But now that's all out the window. People people started getting earrings in both ears, and then they went to, like you just said, the gauging. People getting these big giant earrings, putting earrings in different parts of the body. People putting tattoos on their face. We got recording artists, famous people now that are pushed to the children as entertainment. They've got tattoos all over their face and piercings all over
Coloring
their
the hair
body.
and so forth.
Yeah,
Just bizarre colors that human see. This is Satan, man. This is Iblis. There's no doubt about it. Allah mentions in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 119 and 120. It says, "Cursed by Allah, Satan said, and surely I will lead them astray, and surely I will arouse desires in them, and surely I will command them, and they will cut the ears of cattle." Now I'm going to talk about that here in a second, and surely I will command them, and they will change Allah's creation. Whoever chooses Satan for a guardian instead of Allah is verily a loser and suffered a tremendous loss. Satan only makes them false promises and deludes them with empty hopes. Satan promises them nothing but delusion. And so what it boils down to, as I was mentioning earlier, that because Allah is the creator, Satan, Iblis, cannot create. So he tries to change and alter the creation of Allah on many different fronts, to the point that Allah creates a human being to be perfect, the perfect design that he intended them to be, knowing what their character would be, knowing what would be best for them. By example, someone who is might be overweight or less attractive. If they were based on their character and their internally, if they were given a different body, they might be a sex worker. They might be a person who's perverted. They might, but Allah tests individuals by what they've been given. So if you understand what I'm saying, so a person who is considered quote unquote less attractive than another person, let's say, I hate to even say this, but let's say this category of gauging a woman. I'm just using this as an example to stress the point I'm trying to make. But it's calling someone a 10 versus someone's a 2. Well, the person who might be considered a 2 from society standards is probably being saved by Allah, because if they were looked upon as a 10, they might be the type of person who is exposing themselves and flaunting their good looks and so forth. And what is that doing? That's leading other people astray. But Allah, knowing the design of this person, what this person needs for their personal journey, what they need to be tested by based on what Allah has given or denied, is crucial and vital. Because if we were all just given anything that we want, that's going to take most people to a very dangerous place. Like a man who has all the money that he can spend, he's being tested by that, because he's either given to charity and trying to help people, or he's doing the opposite and he's just feeding his own ego and buying anything that the world has to offer, buying all the sex he wants and the drugs that he wants and all the material items. He's not being conscious of the people that I mentioned earlier, but that are sleeping outside of the stadiums, while the people playing the meaningless game inside the stadiums are making millions per game in some instances. And these people are sleeping in cardboard boxes. It's just happening right down the street from where I live, right outside of Minute Maid Park. That's what's happening. There's people outside just sleeping in the streets in the elements, while these players are inside, making large sums of money per game, and people are going and being entertained by it. So we're being tested by these things. So what Allah gives us and what Allah denies us is what's best for us. So back to my original point, in that someone's changing their hair color to orange and pink and purple and all these bizarre colors, and putting all these tattoos all over their bodies, and because you're not satisfied with what Allah has given you. Everyone would like to be a little bit taller, or a little bit, a little thin, have a better metabolism. But listen, you're being tested by what Allah has given you. Are you satisfied with what Allah has blessed you with? You're complaining about yourself while you can get up and walk, but you don't want to walk in the shoes that you were given. By example, you want to put these other shoes on and flaunt around like you're something that you're not or whatever. And that's a problem. You want to change your body to match what your mind wants it to be. But guess what? You're not even going to be satisfied with that, because statistics say in regards to transgender people, quote unquote transgender people, that 41% continue in their 41% in the course of their lifetime, 41% attempt suicide, or they contemplate suicide. They could either try or contemplate it. And these people are 19 times more likely to commit suicide with or without the transition taking place, with or without the body modification taking place. Why? Because they're not satisfied. They're never satisfied. They alter their body. They mutilated their body. They had stuff stuffed into their body, foreign objects that shouldn't be there. They've chopped off body parts, and they're still not happy. They're still contemplating suicide because they're not satisfied with what Allah has blessed them with. And this is poison in society. This is a dangerous situation that we're facing. Let me add the brother back to the stream. I don't know when I lost you there, but on this topic, I start getting carried away sometime.
No.
Alhamdulillah. But it's just so much to it, man. And the thing is that, just from the gun problem to alcohol to drugs to sex to transgenderism to all, the only solution that I can see is Islam. I don't see any other system of belief, any other worldview, any other religion, any other way of life that can solve these problems other than Islam. It just doesn't exist. That verse that I mentioned a second ago about cutting the ears of cattle, by example, in the days of the Prophet ﷺ, there were people who were cutting the ears of cattle, and they were doing it for superstitious reasons to worship their deities, right? But in current times, you know what's happening in current times? People are literally, scientists, I've got studies that I'm going to be mentioning in the book, that they're taking cells and so forth from the ears of animals, bulls and so forth. They're cutting these cells out of the ears of the animals to reproduce the animals. It's unnatural, right? They're trying to create by cutting these cells from the ears of these animals and trying to what's it called? What's the word for it?
Genetically modify.
Yeah, trying to not modify, but trying to what's it called? To clone. They're trying to clone these animals by cutting away these cells. So alhamdulillah. So you see that this verse applies to the days of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that was talking about cutting the ears of these animals but inevitably worshiping false deities. And say who's causing them to do that? Iblis.
But Satan has gotten us to do this because of our love of money and wealth.
Yeah.
A lot of this, even the body modification. Think about this is going to be a brand new revenue stream.
Absolutely, brother. You're talking about that in the chapter that I'm just starting to finish right now. It's titled what? All about the Benjamins, and that's exactly what it's talking about. It's big business. It's this whole body modification. These plastic surgery and all this nonsense. It's huge, big business, man. And that's what it all stems from.
And I've read in the last month, I've read 2 stories about women who went down to Mexico to get plastic surgery and died or were severely injured. Yeah. So it's this is body modification also. Yeah. Because of women like, Kim Kardashian and other people, and not just to blame it on her, but she's a perfect example.
She's certainly an influencer, yeah. And lo and behold, there's Bruce right there being influenced by her. I mean, there's no way that Kim Kardashian, if my knowledge about the situation is correct, she's an attractive woman, but she's also had some implants, correct?
She's had heavy surgery.
Yeah, so she's had surgery. Now Bruce is over there And I said some stuff the other day that I wish I didn't say, and I deleted the show because of it. But so I'm not gonna. But when I'm talking passionately about these things, and I know I get worked up, but nevertheless, got to use more wisdom and be mindful. But nevertheless, there's no possible way that Bruce Jenner was not influenced by that whole situation. These people have more money than they know what to do with, where they can change their bodies to appear any way they want. And he's around these people, and I'm sure he's watching and he's thinking, oh well, if Kim can do it, maybe I can. Well, I can do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it's almost
because I'm not satisfied.
But if you look at their family, it's almost like a competition.
Yeah.
One person goes get surgery, then the next person, I'm going to do this. Well, he's probably like, well, I'm going to top all you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Because for one, the fame, the attention that it brings on. I mean, he was put on the cover of Vanity Fair, man. I mean, are you
didn't they make him the Woman of the Year?
Woman of the Year, man. Completely undermining the women all over the world, women who go through monthly menstrual cycles and go through childbirth, and the women that are truly women that have been fighting for their rights and their equality and so forth, that only Islam is given when it boils down to it, and properly. And they have now made it to where a man is still oppressing the woman by claiming that he's a man. I seen I came across an article yesterday where a transgender, a transgender so-called, I can't even stand using the term, to be honest, a transgender skateboarder who is a male who identified as a female, on 2 or 3 occasions, this leading a true female skateboarder, she'd been winning these competitions, but on 3 different occasions she's lost and come in second to so-called transgender women, females that were actually males, that were able, because of the capacity of their body, the strength in their body, and their ability to, men can take in more oxygen because of the size of their lungs. They're stronger, all these things, and are able to do things that women can't do. That's why Allah says in the Quran that He's given one, more a certain degree over the other, and it's talking literally about the physical aspect, because men are supposed to be the provider and supposed to be working, and women are more nurturing. And that doesn't mean that women are limited to that. But men have a particular role based on the physicality and the design of our bodies, and that's biology. That's what Allah created us to be. And so, these people are now coming and claiming and becoming Women of the Year and being, the fastest female swimmer on the planet, when you're 6'7" and the lady next to you, a true female, is 5'8", 5'9", wherever she was. You're a giant toppled over. It's just it's ridiculous. But that's the situation that we're facing, and it is getting worse. They're implementing these laws. They're putting these laws in place that's making it illegal, especially in this age of the cancel culture, making it illegal for you to speak out against it. That you're the bad guy, you're the oppressor, you're promoting hate speech if you speak out against it in support of biology, which is unaltered and unchanging. Biology is biology. It doesn't change. But if you support the truth over the falsehood, you're the bad guy now. You're the oppressor. You're the hate monger. You're the transphobe, whatever. I mean, come on, man. Really? I don't have a right to disagree. That's what the book is all about. Sure, you can self-identify as anything you want, but I have the right to disagree with you. I'm not telling anyone to attack you or try to harm you, or I'm not trying to deny you your right to claim that you're whatever you want to be, but you're not going to make me agree with you. I don't have to. I'm not going to lie for you because to make you happy. I'm not going to agree with your delusion just to appease you. I'm not going to do it. I don't have to. Matter of fact, if I did choose to do so, I'd be committing a sin, because now I'm denying the truth of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that made you what you are, that you're not satisfied with, but I'm okay with you. I have no problem with you being Bruce. You're the one that wants to call yourself Caitlin or pretend that you're something that your biology and DNA proves that you can't be. So that's your problem. Don't try to impose it on me, and don't try to impose words that you want me to speak on me. I'm not going to say the words that you want me to say. I'm not going to cuss for you. I'm not going to defile the name of Allah or speak against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for you. I'm not going to, I'm not going to do it. But am I a bad guy because of that? Or do I have a right to say, I believe in biology? I believe that testicles and, a penis demonstrates the fact that this person is a man, he's a male, and that ovaries and, a uterus and so forth, a vagina demonstrates the fact that this is in fact a female. She can give birth. Her hips are wider. She can produce milk, and she's a female. That's a lady. She's a female. And that's what the biology says. Am I wrong for defending the truth over the falsehood? Okay. You say that for now, but on the day of judgment, the tables are going to be turned. And I'm okay with that. But while I'm living, while I'm breathing, I'm going to be fighting the battle of truth over falsehood for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what I'm going to do. And if we don't come together as Muslims to do that, and if we don't try to encourage people even of other faiths to say, hey, look, if you're God conscious and you believe that our God, our creator, created Adam and Eve, and that these Adam can't change into Esther, and Eve can't change into Ernest, then let's come together and demand and say, hey, wait, we are God conscious people, and we disagree, and we have a right to disagree. And you're not going to take away our right to disagree and call us and try to imprison us or fine us, but because we say, I don't think that person right there that I can see is Adam Apple and the bulge in his pants, I don't believe that's a female. That's a man.
But look at the progression.
Look how big his hands are.
Look at the progression, though. It started off with It started off with, once you got people to believe that a monkey can change into a caveman, and then the caveman transforms into a human being.
Iblis. Yeah, that's right.
Yep. That was the starting point. Once you got people to accept that, you can they're dinosaurs turned into birds.
Man.
Okay, if a monkey turns into a man and dinosaurs turn into birds, why can't a man be a woman?
Yeah. And Iblis is in the middle of all of it. In the middle of all of it. First, an animal can transform into a human. And now a human can change into something other than what they are. Trying to destroy the creation of Allah, the perfect creation of Allah. And again, we could all say, man, I'd like to be 6'5", I'd like to whatever, or we could say, oh Allah, thank you for giving me sight and hearing and making me healthy and allowing me the ability to get up and walk and and so forth. We're being tested by it. And in this world of, especially with social media and so forth, and everyone's looking at everyone else, and that the whole what's the old term back in the day, brother, that competing with the Joneses scenario. Now you're seeing everything that everyone else is doing, and now you feel insignificant because you want to be significant as well. and you see all the likes, by example, of this one particular person is getting because she keeps taking these photos from
I mean,
behind.
yeah,
while she's in-
exactly.
and
Think
now
about it.
you're
If you're,
going to
if
do
you're
it because you want those likes as well.
exactly.
Yeah,
If you think about it, if you're a person, you hate your body, you hate yourself, you're not satisfied with yourself. But if I get online, I take on a persona.
I could
If
be
I
anything.
if I do these things, if I say I'm this, if I say I'm that, the people will encourage me, and people will like me, and people will say good things about me, and people
Yeah.
will pay attention to me.
Yes, that's what's happening, man. That's what's happening, and so I mean, that's why we have to be conscious about what we say, and realize that we're influencing people, which is why I said a couple of things in the last show that just on a personal level that I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that, and I deleted the show because I don't want to have to answer on the day of judgment for, so I ask Allah to forgive me for any unwise things that I've ever, we make mistakes, but we got to be conscious about those things because we're influencing other people. And if we're not careful, we can get caught up in the whole mix of all that. Especially when we're talking about religion and people start trying to cut other people down and trying to insult other people and trying to humiliate them and trying to make them look foolish and all those things. And now you're patting yourself on the back and you're feeding off the notoriety and the recognition that you're getting. Oh, brother, you're putting him in this place, and all that. I mean, so we're at risk of being caught up in the same dangers or similar dangers, right? And so we all have to be more conscious about what it is that we're engaging in. What is our purpose? What are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to do with the time that we've been given? And it's dangerous when we're watching all these people that otherwise would be, I don't want to say insignificant, but would have no voice, whereas social media has given masses of people a voice that people normally would just move past in a crowd or whatever. But because social media is what it is, it's given everyone a voice for the most part and allows people to say anything and everything. And, it's dangerous, man. It's dangerous.
It's so pervasive all throughout the society. It's not just transgender. If somebody wants to say, why are you picking on the transgender? It's not just them. What people will do for attention and what people will do to, not have their feelings hurt is becoming very extreme. I seen something on the news. It's a phenomenon. There's something on online and on TikTok. There are people who are becoming obese on purpose.
Really?
Yeah, there are people who are making themselves obese because they become famous online for being it's a word they use like plus sized influencer, stuff like this.
Wow.
And they're making money. They're making thousands of dollars every month because of this, and they're intentionally destroying their own health, for this money. And people, and it was a discussion I was listening to about the rap music today.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and you have individuals. It was just two well-known rappers who were indicted on RICO charges for being gang leaders. And these guys were making. One of the guys, his name is Young Thug, I think his name, Young Thug. They were saying, this guy's flying around in private jets. He was getting paid $500,000 to do shows for one show. But he's the leader of a gang, and he's being indicted for 50 murders because he has to live this image to be a rapper, to be a rap star, he has to be this image of a gangster, of a thug, of a criminal, crime boss, and he took it too far. But see, this is like people will do anything now for attention and fame.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That is right. We live in a critical period of time, man. And on an individual level, we have to, man, we got to think deeper.
And you still got these Islamophobes running around here thinking Islam is Islam is going to bring down society. As you said, they don't realize Islam is the cure for the problems that they're facing. But to even on a rational level think, oh, it's Islam that's going to bring the society down. We've got to fight against Islam. We got to fight Muslims. The biggest problem is women wearing hijabs.
Yeah. Never mind them being on, nearly butt naked and in fact all the, like you can't hardly watch anything on YouTube without, by example, they got pictures of these. I talk about it in the book. These 3-second, little video shots of these tracks, women track stars in various, always from the back, always showing their buttocks and and various stages of contortion, showing their bodies. They're just competing, but the shots that they use to draw people's attention are very provocative, to say the least. You can't even watch sports without being exposed to this kind of stuff, and you're complaining because Muslims encourage women to cover themselves in modesty. I mean, if that's not the devil at work, where you just a woman's more liberated and more accepted by taking her clothes off. I've even seen, you talking about being obese. I've seen recently, I don't know how it pops up, but I've seen where a very, very overweight woman, I'm not talking about anyone's weight, I'm just saying she's got a little bitty outfit on, but she's huge and she's doing the same thing. She's like doing yoga stretches and so forth. And people are watching it, and she's, making multiple videos of her in these little outfits, like she's in great shape and just, with no,
that's
no shame and no,
That's
that's
great.
It's great. Be comfortable with who you are, but everybody doesn't need to see what you got. It doesn't matter how you're built.
But see, that's it. They will say that's what do they call it? Misogyny, to say something like that, to suggest that you don't show it off to everybody else.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you say such a thing? It's like what's good is bad and what's bad is good in the minds of these people. In the minds of society, these are social contagions that people in society get caught up in, and they don't realize it. They don't realize it. Just like I was mentioning about the, turning around and taking the photos with your butt showing in the camera in the restroom. For one, you're in the restroom. Why are you taking pictures in the restroom to begin with? But nevertheless, you're showing your behind because you're seeking attention. And for one, is that the extent of what you have to offer the world? That's all you've got? That's your mark that you're leaving on the world? And what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Being modest, respecting who you are, respecting what our God, our Creator, has given you, saving it for, someone who matters, and not just showing everyone in the world what you've got. I mean, yeah. So these are social contagions that people get caught up in for the fame, for the fortune, for the likes, for the subscribers, for the attention. It's They want to feel important. They want to feel accepted. They want to feel, that they're have purpose in life.
Well, I mean,
That's
that's
that,
no
all those.
different than
That's all great,
it comes in
but
so many forms. That's no
yeah,
different than dressing up like a woman and eating pages of the Quran and
yeah,
you know and
same
drawing
stuff.
pictures of the Prophet. It's the same exact mentality.
Yeah,
It's somebody taking pictures of their butt, on like social media. It's the same. It's a different outcome, but it's the same motivation.
yeah, yeah. It is.
Starving for attention,
Yeah,
doing anything for money,
yeah.
wanting clout.
It's like prostituting yourself, for either the money or the likes or the fame or the publicity or whatever. You're prostituting yourself. You're selling yourself. You're selling your integrity. You're selling your
And,
decency.
and that's why you got all these. This is why you've been plagued with all these little bitty David Woods and Sam Shimons that keep coming around. 'Cause they want 100,000 subscribers. They
Yeah,
would they would do anything for 100,000 subscribers
sure.
if they could. They want attention. They want people to pay attention to them. They want people to come and subscribe and watch their videos. So
Yeah,
that's why they do what they do.
yeah, yeah. That's right. That is absolutely correct. So we have to be mindful of it, not get caught up in it ourselves, and um, be conscious, and ask Allah to protect us from the whisperings of the shaitan and to save us from our own weaknesses and our own, shortcomings, and increase us in knowledge and wisdom and help us to apply those things to our lives. Because man, we live in a critical time, man, and I don't, I think about my son. He'll be graduating, in a couple of days, and I think about when he has children, and these children of today, what they're gonna see, man. It's man, it's crazy, man. I mean, I think back when I was young, it's so different, and I know this is a typical thing that people go through as you age. You look back and how things have changed, but my goodness, it's so bizarre, to be honest. I mean, we're talking about issues where a human being believes they're trapped in the wrong body, today. A human being believes that their true self is trapped in the wrong body, and that they can change it and decide that they're not satisfied with that body and be something different. I mean, what? What? I mean, come on, man. It's disgusting. It's not funny at all. But I mean, at some point you gotta say, "Holy moly! What? How did this happen? How did this happen?"
I mean, we got people. I mean, we're talking. We were the original thing was to talk about this. The shooter. We got people streaming. You go get guns and ammo and body armor, and you decide to live stream you killing people.
Yeah,
Like what?
yeah,
Like who has the mind to do that? You have to be possessed by the jinn. You have to be possessed by something.
yeah. I mean, it's wow.
So
It should have people flocking to religious establishments.
yeah.
I mean, really, it should be like, man, God help us. Oh Allah, please save us from this.
And
What's
people
going
need to
on?
really think about. People need to think about. Why is God allowing this to happen? It's not because God doesn't have power. It's not because God wants evil to happen, but there's a great wisdom.
Sure.
Because after 9/11 happened, remember people became very religious initially. All right. They said that people. They were people. You were talking about people praying in school. People were praying in school after 9/11. People were praying on television. People were flocking to synagogues and churches and masjids and whatever. And then that kind of died down, and everybody went back to a quote unquote normal life. And then you had all this, this thing where one religion in particular, Islam, was demonized. Muslims were demonized, Islam was demonized, the masjid was demonized, the Quran was demonized. So now you have these Islamophobes and these Christian apologists thinking they're still trapped in the 50s somewhere, thinking that America is a Christian nation. And they think if we attack Islam, everybody will come back to church. It's like weird thinking. It's weird logic. But not knowing that by you demonizing and attacking one particular religion, all you're doing is hurting yourself in actuality.
Yeah.
Because this new generation doesn't make a distinction. They don't say, oh yes, Islam bad, Christian good. No. All you religions are bad. I don't want to have anything to do with any of you guys.
Yeah.
So this is the effect that people like these Islamophobes are actually having. They're not bringing people to Christianity. They're actually driving people away from religion altogether.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. All right, brother. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this show down, but we need to get together on that Nabil Qureshi book, inshallah, whenever you're ready.
Inshallah.
And, just let me know, contact me, and let me know when a good time would be. We can set it up. And Brother Friendly Muslim, I'm not sure if you're still there or not. Maybe get caught up over there. But thank you, brothers, for joining me on the panel today. And let's all remember to pray for the people in Uvalde, Texas, the people who've lost their loved ones, all these children who passed away. May Allah give them the highest levels of paradise on the day of judgment. And if they're not there already, for that matter. May Allah make ease for all the people who have been affected, and be with the people who are experiencing the pain and the hurt from all this, and save us from this insanity. So, Brother Abu Yazid, thank you for coming. And everyone in the chat, thank you for watching. I do bear witness there's no God other than Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his final servant and seal of all prophets. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.